Hey guys, today I'm gonna talk about the perfect offer for your cold emails so that your prospects and leads will be jumping on calls with you instead of, you keep trying to follow up and push them to your call or demo or whatever. So make sure to keep watching because you can receive responses and response rates such as these screenshots around me. And there's a simple way how to do this, and I see a lot of people mess this up because a lot of times when we run a prospecting campaign, we try to get people into the meeting. That's the end goal. But the problem is there's no incentive for the prospect to meet with you. They know you want to have a discovery call, or they know they're gonna be pitched something. So they, sometimes they agree, sometimes they do not. But I'm baffled why are many companies incapable of creative thinking in their sales process to create an offer which would be so awesome for people that they would just jump on it. And I'm not talking about an ebook, I'm not talking about your reports or something like that. Now I have a specific type of an offer which all of you can use. You can do it for free and it's gonna change the way you do business. Nowadays everybody's screaming at each other and sending cold emails. It's really hard to stand out. So the way you create an offer which gives them a true value for their time they're gonna spend with you. And by true value, I mean a true value, not an ebook. Now, let's look at some examples. The first one is you invite people to your podcast. Now stay with me here, I'm gonna go deeper here. And the second one is to organize a meetup and you invite them as a guest. Both of these work. Why? Because there's a true value for their time. You're gonna send them to your audience, right? Even if you have none. They get the feeling of, I'm actually getting something instead of nothing. I wouldn't offer this to everybody, right? I would offer this to my top companies, top accounts, because these people will not meet with you over something that you just want to talk to them. It's not going to happen, or just for a coffee or a lunch. That's not enough value. Now, let me go through what do I mean a podcast or a meetup or something. So you need to think about business as relationship building, and you need to build relationship with these people before you ask them for a demo or for anything like that. And ideally what you want to have is that they start asking you and they become interested in your product or service, and then it's much easier to close deals or sell or something. That's an ideal scenario. You want to be as close to that as possible. I see many people do it the other way around, where they push their own solution onto them. And it's hard because there's this barrier, right? So let's do it the other way around. Now, how does this work? Let's imagine that you have a podcast, and let's imagine you sell to HR departments in enterprise companies. Okay, you have a software for them that streamlines their productivity. I don't know. How about creating a podcast called a podcast for HR managers? Just simple name. Buying a cheap microphone, some camera, or you can do a webcam. And then interviewing maybe 5 to 10 people from your network, putting it on a cheap ass WordPress site, just like here are some interviews I've done, making maybe some transcripts, you don't have to, and then putting the interview up on Apple and YouTube and stuff like that. Even though if it gets 0 downloads, it will bring you a domain authority in a sense, because you can then use that in your emails, and you can say, instead of, hey, would you like to have a demo, your call to action in your emails or your overall email can be something like, hey, I saw you're an HR manager at Microsoft and I see you guys are doing this and this. I would love to have you on my show where I spoke with dozens of HR managers about these issues. Would you be interested? Now, this receives more than maybe 50% positive response rate. Not many people say no, and if they say no, they say it very politely, and I just respect that. And I invite people to my podcast. So my podcast is Entrepreneurs in B2B Sales, and some people who have been invited there, they have been part of the lead generation strategy. Some people haven't. This is one of the best strategies I'm revealing here. I don't know why nobody's doing this. It's really crazy to me, because this works much better. We've tested actually asking for being on the show or asking for like close questions or getting on a call or something. It's incomprehensible how great and positive the response rate is if you ask them to be on your show. What happens then? You agree on some time, you book a meeting, you go into the show, you record a podcast, you ask them very insightful questions, kind of discovery call questions in a way, but you ask them questions without any, sales background or something like that. And after the call is over, they usually ask you, hey, so what do you do? And then you can start chatting about your business. And then you already established the relationship. How different is the conversation gonna be after you spoke to somebody for 30 minutes and you laughed and you build a really cool relationship? Now don't end it on a bad note. Obviously keep it cool, and you can keep your relationship with them because you're going to publish the podcast, so you need to email them, so you can tell them, hey, I'm going to be in touch in 2 days, and then you can keep the relationship flowing with the follow-ups, and then keep asking, or maybe in the third email, to get on the phone. Maybe something like, hey, appreciate you being on the show. I had some ideas how to improve your marketing from what you shared with me in the podcast. I would love to hop on a quick call if you have time this week. Boom. They are your friend at this point. They're gonna do it. And then it's a completely different dynamic. You can use this strategy for really anything. Meetups are obviously harder because you have to do it in person or events. So I would definitely suggest podcast. Every B2B brand out there should have a podcast, and the podcast name should be the buying decision maker, on the other hand, who will be making that decision, or the department, so that they listen to it. This is very, very unique, and I don't see a lot of people doing it because they think like, oh, I don't have a popular podcast. It's not about popularity. It's generating demand in your target market. It's linked to your outbound strategy, so it's generating leads. Obviously, you can't offer this to everybody, so maybe have your campaign set up. But for those accounts, for those maybe 100, 200, 300 people or companies, it's going to be hard to get to. This is a great way to get their attention and build a relationship with them. Just don't screw it up as many people do because they oversell. So once you have them in your funnel, just keep a gentle follow-up and you'll close more deals, definitely. Hey, by the way, if you need help with producing a podcast like what I just described, we can help you. We actually now produce podcasts for B2B brands. So if you want, we can do the entire production and even book people onto your show, because it's a very complicated process, but you can figure it out on your own, obviously, if you have time. But if you're a manager, you don't have time, we can do it for you. So then just hit me up at at insalesacademy.com, or you can go to my website, insalesacademy.com, where we can do that. So hey, this is a really cool strategy. It's usually sits under the marketing department and helps sales guys, but both departments benefit from this tremendously. And over time, you can create a really popular podcast. We can even distribute it. And for example, my own podcast gets thousands of downloads each month. And it's really cool. In over 6 months, right? This happened. So this can be the same story. And in a couple of months, you can be like a really cool opinion leader in your industry where everybody goes to get interviewed. So hey, if you want to know more, go to the website. But anyways, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. Leave me a comment if you think this is cool or not, but I think it's pretty cool. If not, then you're missing out heavily, but whatever. So let's keep in touch. I am Jan still, and wish you all the best.